Okay, hello and welcome everyone. As some sort of strange punishment to myself, I'm going to be spending some time today streaming myself trying to patch vulnerable dependencies in Go. I picked a really hard one, Open Telemetry or the otel client. And I picked a couple projects where our team already tried to patch it and go and ran into a bunch of trouble. So we were really setting ourselves up for failure. Even if I don't get anything done, I hope that we get to get through some stuff, debug some things, and see exactly how hard it is to patch these low-level dependencies like otel, where they continue to have a bunch of breaking changes far down in the dependency tree. So recently, there have been a couple CVEs in otel. We can see these here in one of our applications. We do try to keep a 0 CVE SLA for all of our images, and we haven't quite patched this one in everything yet for Go. So here's a recent scan that I just did today. The Kubernetes metrics server project. So Kate's metrics server. It has 2 CVEs in it due to some vulnerabilities in different otel libraries today. These are both fixed in 0.46 or 0.44 of this library, but the Kate's metric server client only has 0.20.0. So these are both high severity vulnerabilities. They may or may not actually apply in this case, but due to the way that scanners work, we're seeing them anyway. So this first one is a denial of service vulnerability in otel gRPC, and the second one here is another denial of service vulnerability in a different version of otel. So we've patched this in all sorts of Go apps before, but we're going to try one that we haven't been able to patch yet because it's non-trivial and might require some code changes. So that repo here is Kubernetes SIGs metrics server. This video isn't going to be live streamed, but full disclaimer, I have not looked at this project at all yet. I got it cloned to my laptop. I have Visual Studio open, and that's all. So we're going to be going through this fresh for the very first time. Patching these things and bumping Go dependencies in general can be very tricky. And so I'm just going to warn everyone here before I jump in that if this gets messy, viewer discretion is advised. We were recording this first thing in the morning, just in case this gets pretty hairy, but we're going to jump on in here and get started. So first thing is to look at this vulnerability report. So we have metric server built, and we're seeing these 2 vulnerabilities. If we get somewhere up to 0.46, we should be good to get rid of both of these. Let's see how far back we actually are. This says 0.20. Let's take a look at the Go mod file. Occasionally, you run into something where the project has cut a release a long time ago, but has actually gotten a lot closer since the time they cut that release. I have a feeling we might be running into that here because the last release was actually cut back in July, 0.6.4. Let's see where they are today. Let's search for otel. Yeah, okay. So actually much more recent in the tip of the branch, but they just haven't cut a release yet. So this is both good and bad. It's good because it means somebody has done work here recently. We're not going to be going all the way from 0.20 all the way up. But it's bad because there might have been a ton of other changes here. And since we are trying to package the last actual release of that, let's jump over to here showing how that works. Since we're trying to package the last actual release, we might still have to do a bunch of surgery to get back to that last date. So let's see, metrics server. This is the way that we package this in Wolfie. And yeah, so we are still on 0.6.4 with a bunch of different bumps and packages kind of built in. So let's give this a try. I've got everything cloned here in my terminal. All right, nothing has been applied. Let's fetch tags, and we're going to zoom all the way back to that 0.6.4 time frame. Maybe there's a V. Awesome. All right, so we are zoomed all the way back here. Let's figure this out. Actually, you know what? Let's start at master so we can get a PR sent in. We might still have to backport this work for our use case here in Wolfie, but let's send a PR up and see if they're willing to take it first before we spend much time here. So let's open up VS Code. I think I've got that here. Yep, and we are in the Go mod. All right, so they're at 35 and 37. I think these are the 2 in question. Yeah, so it was otel gRPC and otel HTTP. Perfect. So let's try to bump these to 0.46. Cool. So it looks like it worked. Let's do a go mod tidy. And this is where the problems come in. We get the first bump done, but then we run into trouble with a bunch of other nested ones. Let's try to bump this one too to the same version. Sometimes that helps. Is that what we did? 0.46, yes. So we are still not there. This is where the fun comes in. All right, so Kubernetes API server is importing gRPC trace, which imports this thing at that version, which doesn't have a package. A package has been deleted. This is where all the frustration comes from. Let's see if there are a few others that we can patch. Yeah, so these are pretty far behind too. OLTP trace, that's the one that we're running into an issue with. OLTP trace gRPC. Here we go. Yes, these are all on 1.11. Let's pull this up and see. To get a minimum, we're going to have to get these up here to match this 1.20, but that's also pretty old. So let's just try bumping everything. Let's see what the latest is here. Open to otel going. Where is the repo? Here we go. All right, 1.21.0 is the most recent. So yeah, let's bump this one to 1.21. And let's get all of these up there too. Retry does not have, okay, so maybe that retry one is gone. It looks like that whole package has been deleted. Let's try this one. Cool. See if we're actually importing this. Okay, it says indirect. So maybe we can just drop that one. Let's get this one up to 1.21. Cool. What are we missing before we try our next go mod tidy? Let's do it. Oh, it worked. All right, let's see how broken everything is. So what was the name? That OLTP, the retry one is the one that disappeared. Oh, it worked. Let's run some tests. Nothing is completely blowing up. Let's check this out. See if anybody else has been working on this recently. Looks like somebody else tried to do a release back in August. The last bump I can kind of see was last year. Looks like this person did a bunch of bumps. Never actually got stuff merged, but somebody else did those bumps for them. So stuff did go out. He might be willing to take a PR. Let's give this one a try. Ooh, somebody else has been doing. Okay, so here's another go bump from Dependabot, which doesn't touch otel. So awesome. We should be able to send a PR and maybe help people out here. Yeah, here's the problem. This is why these libraries tend to cause a bunch of problems with projects. Dependabot is the most common tool for bumping these, but because they all have to be bumped in groups, Dependabot operates on them individually. So you can see here, all it did was bump the otel HTTP client, and that fails usually because you have to bump a bunch of other things too. So because these all have to kind of be bumped atomically in a big group, Dependabot fails, and a lot of projects forget to do it, which then causes issues. All right, well, we had a bunch of passes, a bunch of failures. Sometimes the unit tests actually require a setup. Let's send a PR and see if it passes in CI. Or let's read the contributing guide and see if there's a better way to test locally. Make test unit. Let's do that instead of just go test. So let's do make lint. Yeah, we might need a kind cluster setup. I'm running Docker desktop and Kubernetes in that. Let's do go mod vendor. Do they use vendoring? I screwed something up. No, I don't see a vendor. What changed? Nothing changed here. I'll try make lint one more time. Make sure I have a fork here correctly. So we can set up a good workflow. Let's go back to the main one, set this as upstream. Okay. Write a little commit message explaining why we're doing this. Cool. All right, we just get signed to sign it. Let me try that make one more time. Make lint. It's hard to tell if something actually failed or not. I was just getting a big dump. It seemed like it was caused by a dirty get state. Awesome. There we go. That did work. Cool. Let's go back to the contributing guide. Let's try running tests. Oh, whoops, wrong repo. Make lint. All right, let's do that one and see what happens. And other than that, we should be good to send our PR, start filing it and getting our message written up. So this is always an interesting one, and different projects have different philosophies here. But just because the CVE is in a dependency, it doesn't mean it actually affects the project. But because of the way scanners work, they all flag it anyway. Since we know we're going to have to bump these libraries at some point in the future, I tend to think that it's a good habit to just bump them whenever we can. It does take a bunch of work, but that's why we're contributing for the project. Some projects take the opposite stance though and don't like to bump unless there is a known issue. That minimizes changes and makes it so you don't have to constantly cut releases, but it does make it harder to do those bumps if there is a vulnerability that affects your project much later because you're bumping from a much larger time range. So let's see what happens here. There are a few CVEs in the Go otel libraries that flag scanners. This PR addresses them. CVEs are likely false positives, but this is still good hygiene and will make future upgrades easier in addition to quieting scanners. Awesome. Yeah, tests passed, and we were able to send our PR. So that wasn't too bad. Let's try again now to send this patch up into a Wolfie. So we're going to zoom back in time now, which is where the problems are likely going to come in. What was that branch? There we go. All right. Now we are way back in time, and we're going to try this again where all the problems came in. So here, we're 0.20 instead of those 30s. So let's try running those same go gets again. Let's do that one first, see what happens. Ooh, that's a bigger change. Guessing stuff is going to break. Yeah, all right. So that got us some of the way there. Bump that one. We still need otel HTTP. Let's get maybe this guy. Bump this one up to 0.46. If this looks like I'm completely guessing, I am. Okay, that one doesn't exist. Let's try this one. Okay, none of those exist anymore. Let's try taking this one up. Nothing. All right, go mod tidy. All right, so it looks like we've got a Kubernetes client which imports this thing. Which imports some stuff that doesn't exist. OTLP-gRPC. Where's that one? It's not showing up in here. Okay, so this might be the issue. We might be stuck on an older version of Kubernetes, which is importing the older version of otel. So in this case, since we're so far behind from July, let's take a look. Yeah, so it looks like 2 months ago, so sometime after July, they bumped the Kubernetes dependencies to 1.28, which might have been required, which we might have to do here as well. So let's see what got bumped. Yep, kates.io.api. Let's try bumping these. Okay, we get a different error this time. Let's keep going down the list. We need PI machinery. Here, maybe we can just make these changes ourselves in the go mod and run a go mod tidy. That looks right. Oh. Did we do it? No. Of course not. Breaking changes. Yay. All right, so that's what we have here. There's some end-to-end test changes. It's actually not terrible. So if we're going to port this change to Wolfie, we're also going to have to make these changes too, where this part applies. Let's open up options.go, line 155. Oh, wrong options.go. Metric server, app options.go. Okay, so it's server config dot open API config. Here we go. And this should change to, looks like just that. All these. Okay, then this looks like the generated code changes. Let's see, this probably adds some stuff. Package API node.go. Missing method destroy. All right, so let's see when this got added here. I don't see it in here. Package API. It looks like there were 2 bumps. Yeah, okay. So there were 2 bumps in Kubernetes since the last time they've cut a release. Okay, skip those. Or maybe not. So where is the destroy? Let's do a blame. GitHub changed this recently. How do I find that? Maybe here? View git blame. Yeah. All right. When did this appear? Upgrade the API dependency of metric server to 0.25. When did this happen? This says last year. How far back in time did we go? I thought I jumped to 0.6.4. Yeah. Which was July 25th. Let's see. Maybe we went back too far. So this is off of a branch. Something's weird here. Yeah, this branch, the 0.6 branch, I'm missing a lot of changes. So if we diff, how do we do that? And if we go back to this, compare. I think we can do something like this. Compare 0.6.4. Oh, yeah. So this is really far behind. Let's see if they have a plan here. Yeah, something is strange here. All right, we are in for some fun. Let's add that destroy method. It looks like it didn't actually do anything. What did it do here? I think it just did return nothing. Oh, yeah, even easier. Okay, we need to do the same in pod. Oh, I think we did it. All right, let's try this. So we made the go mod changes. Where we bumped all of these things. And we made these changes. So what we're going to do here is generate a patch file. We're going to move that over to Wolfie. We're going to make a directory for that patch. Let's open up this directory. I think I have Wolfie open somewhere. There we go. So we're going to bump the epoch here. So we're still on 0.6.4. We're going to apply our patch. There's a built-in pipeline for this. What do we call it? Bump Otel. That's going to apply that patch to that tree and then do a build. I think we can actually get rid of both of these now too. Since I believe we have those patched. Let's just make sure. So what is gRPC in this world? So 1.56.3 or higher. Yep, that one's patched. And XNet. Let's make sure XNet is patched as well. 1.17. Yep, perfect. So we can drop both of these because we're applying a patch instead of just doing that go bumping. We don't need to do that. Let's try to build this. This is my long command line to build Wolfie packages. So we're going to build metric server. We have to change this to the directory with the patches in it. Let's see what happens. Oh. What did I do wrong? There's something wrong here with my command line. Pump hotel.patch. Let's make sure that looks right. I have empty workspace and sourced. There we go. look at this repo to see if we can figure out what's going on here. It seems like they have a 0.6 release branch that they have been backporting stuff to instead of cutting a 0.7. And so that 0.6 branch is actually a few years old, it looks like. So let's find 0.6. Yeah, so this was cut in January 2022, and they've just been backporting fixes to this one. So it looks like they need a 0.7. Let's see if there's one tagged here. Last updated over a year ago, nothing open in it. Well, that's disappointing. There are quite a few maintainers in here. Maybe it's worth cutting a 0.7 and porting things to that rather than staying on 0.6. Hey, it built. Let's do... We can just do a quick scan here to make sure we fixed it. Nothing else has been reintroduced. And then if we do this right, we should get back to a 0 CVE Kubernetes metrics server image. And we sent them a patch upstream too. So let's see if this one is going to get merged. The tests haven't run yet. All right, well, we need a maintainer to kick this off. No vulnerabilities found. Awesome. We did it. Latest release is based on a branch that's a few years old. And I realized we should leave a comment in the patch explaining why we have that applied. So let's do that quick before we actually send this PR. So we get this CVE. So we get all these CVs plus the other two that I just added. So let's add that here. And what were the other two? Let's look back at the built image. All right, so these have the GHSAs, which are aliases and usually have CVEs attached to them, but let's just double check. Here we go. Here's this CVE. And here's this one. Awesome. So let's get that added. Amend. Push that up. Open that up. All right, now we'll send up some advisories to update our database. We have those two. Let me get gripe one more time. Oh, what do we have going on here? Maybe my Wolfie Cuddle is out of date. If we get this all done and merged, that'll be the full flow. And this is typically how we triage and patch vulnerabilities in all of our Go packages in Wolfie. We do the dependency bumps. We try to send them upstream where we can. We can't always guarantee their merge, so we work around them with Go bumps inside of our packages themselves as well. These cases where there is a release, but it's super old and there have been a ton of changes to the main or master branch since then, are usually the toughest. And so it's easiest for everyone if the upstream project cuts a release, but we have ways to work around it if they don't cut a new one. Let's see if we can get this one back down to 0. Lots of Go dependencies to download. All right, that is building. This one still hasn't merged. I actually sent a few of these last night as I was warming up in different projects. So I sent a dependency bump in Argo for the same thing to keep Otel up to date. And I sent one to Caddy as well. Oops, wrong repo. Maybe they merged it. Yay, that one made it in. Awesome. Delete the branch. See here that there's a little bit of discussion on whether or not these were real vulnerabilities or not. It's always hard to tell, but thanks to the Caddy maintainers for merging this anyway. It makes everyone's life easier. Great. All right, so Wolfie Cuddle is done. Let's throw that onto my path. All right, it's working now. Let's get those CVE identifiers one more time. So we patched this one in that version. Oh no. Looks like I'm gonna have to go get a GitHub token and set this back up. The tool will automatically resolve these GitHub advisories over to CVEs, but it uses the GitHub advisory database to do so, which requires using the GitHub API. I don't think there's a way for me to get a new token here without screen sharing it. And because I'm recording this, I am not going to go ahead and do that. But we'll get that PR created in a little bit off stream when I'm not recording, so I don't accidentally leak a GitHub token. All right, with that, we did everything. We got a PR sent up to an upstream project. We also patched it in Wolfie, and we'll get these 2 vulnerabilities patched in the next version of the metrics server, which go out tomorrow. Thanks, everyone, for watching. That wasn't as bad as I expected it to be. Have a good day.